Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever Agile Table Topics. Yay! Super excited to have all of you here joining us. This is something I've been thinking about doing for a good while now, and I'm finally said, you know what? Stop waiting for the perfect moment and just do it. Let's get a rapid prototype out there for us to continuously improve upon. But with that being said, what is Agile Table Topics? So, Agile Table Topics is where myself and I grab two guests, we're a panel, and we answer a lot of Agile program management, project management related questions. Um, and these questions are curated from all of you. So, from LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. So, I'll put out a blast. What would you like to know? And then people provide their questions and we go ahead and answer them. But with that being said, let's get this first episode going. So the way Table Topics works is that I have here a nice bowl full of questions that I grabbed from, again, social media, and we're going to rifle through them and we're going to pick one out and we're going to talk about it. And that's pretty much how we're going to go. But let me introduce our two first guests here. So our first guest is Nicole Wilker. I've had the awesome pleasure of working with her in the past. In her own words, Nicole is a principal Agile practitioner at Red Hat. Her mission as an Agile leader is removing roadblocks to provide you the best possible path into your Agile journey and trying to make the world a better place, one Agile principle at a time. She garners a tremendous amount of joy helping others have their aha moment. Our second guest is Dave Fogel. Dave Fogel has referred to himself as an Agile enthusiast since 2008. Threaded in Dave's 2 decades of IT, he has been a satellite communications operator maintainer, a technical trainer, criminal investigator, nuclear biological chemical safety officer, scrum master, book club founder, house concert host, board game geek, sci-fi geek, process geek, and a geek. Whew, that's a mouthful. So Nicole, Dave, thank you both for joining me today. Yay! And I'll give both of you a couple seconds. Go ahead and just introduce yourselves again. Granted, I introduced you, but a few of your own words. Nicole, how about you go first?
I'm just excited to spend time with Omar and get to meet Dave.
for like the first time, because we will reintroduce in just a few weeks from today as we record. By the time this gets released, we'll probably already be in Nashville, I guess.
And that's for the big Agile event that's the 5-day Agile event going on in Nashville later on this month. That's going to be awesome. All right. So, are both of you ready to get going with our first question? Right. All right, here we go. So, digging in the bowl. So, you see me grabbing things out. So, let's grab our first question. So, I'll repeat it twice. Ooh. If we are to respond to change over following a plan, where is there an uproar when we pull things midway through the sprint? I'll repeat that one more time. If we are to respond to change over following a plan, where is there an uproar when we pull things midway through the sprint? And that is from LinkedIn from Stella Inacho.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I first got to define a silver bullet because people use this term a lot. And I got to explain that silver bullets, like real silver bullets, are very difficult to make. Silver is a different type of metal than what we would normally use in a bullet. And yet, if your problem is a werewolf, this is the solution. Okay, and I might refer to silver bullet again, but that's what I mean when I say silver bullet. This is the problem. I feel like this is the solution. The closer it is to the sprint, the more things the Scrum Master should say, yo, product owner, if you want to introduce that, then we have to take X number of things off the plate. And it's always more than a 1-to-1. So at minimum, I say it should be a 3-to-1. As you get to the end of the sprint, it ends up becoming like 5-to-1 or something. Because so much stuff is already done, and you're saying, look, we can't do the last little wrap up that we were doing. We were going to be doing some in-team testing. And now you say, like, this thing is so important, it can't wait a few more days till sprint planning? All right, so that's my answer is you got to make the trade-offs very transparent and painful.
Omar, say the question again, please.
Oh, yes. The question is, if we are to respond to change over following a plan, where is there an uproar when we pull things midway through the sprint?
Okay. I agree with everything Dave said, but where's the uproar? It's going to be the team. Context switching is expensive. So exactly what Dave said. So 5 to 1, 3 to 1. So if you're asking for a pivot, you're asking for things to change because they're most important, which is fine. You're paying the price with context switching out and in. So people are going to forget what they built. It'll be however many days until the next sprint starts so they can get back to their work. So the uproar will be incomplete work that people are invested in.
I want to add one more thing because Nicole kind of like sparked my brain a little bit about the team uproar. I actually want to avoid the team uproar and say we do not schedule a meeting. If the product's owner says, hey, I have this new thing that I just discovered, must go in. I know we did sprint planning. Well, the cost of not doing it at sprint planning is that you don't have the full conversation and feedback. Just go do it, which means that there might be some research the team has to do. And normally they would have gotten that insight from the product owner. Now they kind of have to do it a little bit on their own. And that's why it's part of that 5 to 1 or at least 3 to 1 ratio. Yeah. We don't need another meeting, in my opinion.
No.
Feedback loops.
To add
feedback loops, yes.
Yes.
But not a
Yes.
meeting.
And to add to both of you, my thought is, as the Scrum Master protecting a team, it's okay to say no. It is okay to say no to the product owner trying to introduce something at the 11th hour to try to hey, team, squeeze this in. It's like, whoa, pump your brakes there. We've already committed to what we're going to do. However, on the flip side, if this is let's say there is a security breach or security risk that must, or if you're in government, a presidential mandate that you have to patch something, then something like that would have to may finagle its way in. However, the opposite side of that is my question is, okay, Scrum Master says no, product owner, we kind of have a conversation okay, we saw this, but what should we do? Because I know we're saying no, you should do this, but what should a solution be? Well, I've seen in some places where a operational support team would help in this type of situation where they run full Kanban and they have a priority swim lane where something hot comes in that they can handle. So if it's an operational support, security thing, or emergency, I would give it to that team for them to work on. Or if it can wait, it gets pulled into the next planning session and you're able to add it to the next sprint. But if it's a major emergency like that, I can kind of see both sides of the coin where we have to do it. But again, that would just blow up everything for the team.
Omar, that's brilliant. If you have a team to handle that sort of stuff, then yeah, that's a great way to handle mid-sprint requests.
All right, very good. That was our first question. Who's ready for the next one? All right. Digging in the bowl. Here we go. This is actually one of Nicole's questions. What is the difference between Scrum, Kanban, and Agile? Ooh, we might go for 20 minutes on this one. What is the difference between Scrum, Kanban, and Agile? And Nicole, you're not going to go first because it's your question.
Haha, Dave.
So Agile is a very big Venn diagram circle, and it's got a lot of different things within Agile. And Agile by itself is about prioritization and fast feedback loops. That's really tough to do both of those things because prioritization means you have to do deprioritization. And fast feedback loops means more meetings, more emails, more conversations. And that's sometimes painful, but you make better decisions through that process. But how do we decide how to prioritize? How do we decide what feedback loops to do? Scrum is a way to set things up in an iterative way Usually we do 2 weeks, but teams do all kinds of variations on that.
Hmm.
So in a 2 week block, we have already prioritized at the beginning with a thing called sprint planning. Um, so that's a bit of Scrum. It's we put that box about the prioritization and the feedback loops into this 2 week box. With Kanban, that is, we're trying to maximize the flow of things. That's a Kanban for knowledge work. If you're doing Kanban for production work, like you're making a car, it's actually a little bit different. But Kanban for knowledge work is about maximizing flow. And so instead of doing this 2 week box where it's like, where's our bottlenecks? All right, that's my answer.
And it's funny because when you said first con, I was like, con. When you first talked about Kanban. I was gonna say the yes and you to that. Agile is like kind of the bigger box where there's multiple different disciplines inside. You know, there's Scrum, Kanban, Safe, Scrum at Scale, Less, Best, a whole bunch of other stuff. Where Scrum and Agile are just some of the disciplines within it. Um, I like Kanban a little bit more than Scrum, depending on my scenario. I usually refer to the Kanban because of that flow, because of the flexibility, because of the we have this emergency issue or we have this thing that pops up. We need to do that. But again, I go back to you have a separate team for that. But if you don't, then it's okay to have a Kanban flow so you can anticipate those things. And now back to Nicole.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's just funny, teams that are thrown into the realm of either where they came from or, hey, welcome to Red Hat. We're doing agile Scrum things. So there's a lot of missing information, and people are just sort of, I understand. So getting them the information so they know what they're doing is really where the question came from.
It's interesting because sometimes you go into an environment like we're doing agile and you realize they're doing waterfalls with stand up.
It all depends on your definition.
That is true. That is true. All right. Very good. That is second question down. Who's ready for the third question? Let me dig into the bowl here. Let's see. This one looks all right. Open it up. Ooh. How do you balance program level process and expectations while allowing the team to work in a way that works for them? And then this is from Jonathan Walters from LinkedIn. And once again, how do you balance program level process and expectations while allowing the team to work in a way that works for them?
Oh, okay. Nicole's going first.
There we go.
I mean, it's still all a transparency, right? If you're not transparent about what your expectations are and the teams aren't transparent about what they can do, or if they come to a point where, oops, can't really do this because of X, Y, and Z, like, I mean, it's an opportunity for a conversation, right? So allowing people the opportunity to have the conversation, but generally, like the projects I work on are rather large, multi-month things. The time box is gigantic. So how does that get to marketing? How does that get out to the world to understand what's coming? But doing all the things to make it refinement so you actually understand the problem, determining what your velocity is, what your capacity is. Is Europe going on vacation this month? That's really going to like dive into what you can actually accomplish. And so just understanding all those realms to be able to put out there your best guess. And we talk about how greater than a couple sprints and I won't say bad words. It's a idea of like it might not happen because you don't have the information you need to successfully anticipate what's going to happen with the other two things that you already thought you might accomplish. So it's giving your best guess and then having conversations along the way.
I like to think about there's a thing from Scrum at Scale, and Jeff Sutherland, when he was making that, he introduced this concept of minimal viable bureaucracy. Like you need some.
Yes.
Right? And part of that is if you think about a computer from the 1990s, and some of our listeners, viewers may not get this, but back then, when you connected your printer, it was a specific printer cable. When you
Yep.
were connecting your monitor, it was a specific VGA connection, right? And then yada, 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 yada. When I connected my Palm 3, ooh, there I'm showing my age. When I connected my
Ooh,
Palm
ooh.
3, it was yet another style of connection. And then this magical thing called USB came along. And here's the thing, not everything fully utilizes USB. And yet I could have a whole bunch of computers since 2002 that have all had USB connections. I've had a whole bunch of devices since 2002 that have had USB connections. And so this mouse that's right next to me, I've had for about 10 years, and I've had like 5 computers during that time frame. And yada yada yada. So my point is that minimal viable bureaucracy is how do you say that from the top down and yet allow teams to recognize the value of this bureaucracy right now, this process, is so that we can all work together.
And to yes and both of you, going back to the question, how do you balance program level process expectations while allowing the team to work in a way that works for them? It is building trust between the different levels. You have the program manager who's seen multiple teams, multiple, you have marketing, engineering, security, you have all these different teams working together to get something out to the world. So there has to be a lot of coordination between that program manager and the engineering manager slash scrum master slash product owner at the team tactical level. Like there has to be that understanding between them. Like, hey, we're doing our own thing down here, but we're gonna adhere to this process. This like how we deliver. We're gonna do it. Don't tell us how we're gonna get to that delivery. We will deliver. So giving them that autonomy and openness to do that is good, but you have to have that coordination with that program manager. So when a program manager says, "Hey, on July 12th, everyone needs to be ready to ship get for GA journal availability or whatever term it you use at your org." They have to coordinate all the basically herding all the cats. So there has to be coordination and trust between them. And in the beginning of a lot of programs, that trust isn't there yet because you just haven't built it. So in the beginning, it may be a little harder for teams because they're following a rigid process, but as they mature and grow into it, then they can kind of flex like, hey, you know what? We tried it this way, but now we're going to try it this other way because we feel the pain of this current process, but we think if we tweak this part of the process, it may be faster, it may provide more information and things like that. That's just my thoughts on that one. All right, very good. All right. I think we have time for maybe 2, possibly 3 more questions. Let me dig into the bowl, shifting them around. Let's see this. There we go. This one's kind of similar to an earlier one, but this one is funny, and I want to pick on Dave on this one because I think that he'll be able to explain this awesomely. So the question is, explain what agile development is as if you were talking to a kindergartner. One more time. Explain what agile development is as if you were talking to a kindergartner. And this is from Lori. I always butcher her last name. Ayat. Sorry, Lori. You can beat me up later.
So I have done this actually. So Omar and I have kids about the same age. So we have this place called Zava Zone. It's sort of like a ropes course or but it's indoors. And one of the things that kept happening is that my daughter, as a kindergartner, would wait until the last minute to do her favorite climbing activity there. And then I would say, sorry, kid, we've got 3 minutes left. You don't have time for that. And then we went back about 2 weeks later and I said, hey, kid, last time you were really upset when we left because you didn't get to do the thing that you said was your favorite. So maybe do your favorite first, and then do your second favorite, and then your third favorite. And that's what she did. In fact, she did her favorite thing twice in a row over the weekend. This past weekend, we went to this place again, and she did her favorite thing first. She did it twice. Then she went to her second favorite thing, and she did that twice. Point is, I explained to her, and this is what Dad does at work, is he helps people make a decision about what's their favorite thing, and then also make the decision of, all right, we did our favorite thing. Twice was great. 3 times would have been too much. Right? And making those decisions is what Dad does. All right, now maybe Nicole will have a slightly different, or Omar will have a different.
No, I love it. I want to yes and to you actually worked the inspect and adapt process. So you took a minute after the first time you went to find out what went wrong. And what went wrong was we didn't pick our favorite first. And so next time we did. So that's making sure that you're looking at what you're doing and making it better next time.
And to yes and you, to explain it to a kindergartner, I would explain like this. I'll talk to one of my 2 girls and I'll say, hey, you want to ride your new roller skates? Okay, cool. But you have to wear your helmet, you have to wear your shin guard, your knee pads, elbow pads, and wrist pads, right? And of course, they're like, I'm too cool, I don't want to do this. I said, okay. But if you don't wear it and if you fall down, what do you think will happen? I'll be fine. I said, okay. So go forth and carry on with the scientific method because we're experimenting. Because in agile development, there has to be a lot of experimentation to figure out what works best. So, of course, fell down, skin knee. Oh, so we had an experiment. We went without our safety gear. We fell and we skinned our knee and it's bleeding and you're crying. So now, are you going to wear your knee pads next time? Yes, I put them on. And then what happened? We skated again. She fell and said, look, Daddy, I'm not hurt. Yes, you implemented a new process from experimentation. You learned. Again, I want to create an environment where I'm not going to tell you what to do all the time. Granted, it's what we're supposed to be doing as parents, but I want you to be self-aware and grow and experiment and figure it out. So that's just one way I try to explain that to kids. Like, hey, you're a scientist. Kids are always scientists. They're always experimenting and they're always learning from it.
You know what? I've got a yes and. But one of the things that we have openly said is Dad's not always going to be around. Mom's not always going to be around. Right? So, and I can't anticipate all the things you're going to have to encounter. I can't teach you everything. So the best thing I can do is get you to, be respectful and yet ask why. And yeah, that's teaching them the process of thinking is more important than any specific thing we will do.
And to add on to that, we've also tried a Kanban board at home where do dishes, clean room, be nice to little sister, and they would move those across the board. And at the end of the week, they would get a treat, or we go to get ice cream, or maybe we'll watch a cool new kids movie, or things like that as well. That I think, Dave, we've had conversations about that in the past about family Kanban or family Scrum and kind of things like that.
Yeah, we don't do Scrum per se or a Kanban. We have a calendar, and every day has a checklist of things. And so we're getting off topic a little bit, but I think it's a little bit of
just a little bit. It's okay.
And we have a checklist, and we have a sort of a time box because on Thursday nights there is the potential that we will watch a new movie, and the rule about Thursday night movies is that Mom and Dad don't watch it first. So prior to introducing this, she was only allowed to see things that we had already reviewed, which meant that Tracy and I had to watch it in advance. Tracy is my spouse. And so, we pick something on Thursday with certain discretion, and we will watch it. And it's very frequent that in the middle of a Thursday night movie, we will pause. But we don't get to do the Thursday night movie unless she finishes her chores. So she has this impending thing, and the sprint, for lack of a better term, starts Friday. She gets chores, and she has to finish all her chores before dinner on Thursday. Anyway, that's our process.
I love it, Dave. So you have the time box. It's a weekly sprint, and then each day is a story with subtasks. I love it.
Makes perfect sense.
And part of the thing is she gets flexibility from day to day. Like you described, it's a day with subtasks. But she doesn't have to do her Monday stuff on Monday. It's a little bit easier if you do each day's stuff on each day, but if a play date occurs with one of her friends, she can prioritize that over her Monday chores, but then she's going to have to catch up on Tuesday.
That makes sense. All right. I think we have time for one more question. So let me. It's funny. There's that TikTok thing. My money doesn't jingle jingle; it folds. Every time I go into this bowl because they're all folded, that's what I think. All right. Our next question. Ooh. This is a good one. I want to before I talk about this question, I want to say thank you to Mike Rose on Facebook for giving us this question. What do you say to someone who tells you Agile is just not going to work for their organization? One more time. What do you say to someone who tells you Agile is just not going to work for their organization? We can talk to the midnight about this one. and
Okay.
it's go ahead, Nicole. I was about to rant for a second.
You can rant. I got to find the name of the book that I just finished. There was an excellent story in there about basically Agile doesn't work. And it's because it's kind of like you say, I don't like baseball because you added an extra base, you diminish the number of players, and then you're using a water balloon. So you have changed everything and your outcome was less than satisfactory. So I would take some time to understand okay, cool. What parts don't you like and why? And just delve into, are they actually flowing with it? Do they have buy-in from up above? Are there, too many interruptions, like we talked about earlier, that is keeping them from actually having a time box that they've planned successfully? Are they able to commit? Are they given the opportunity to succeed? So I would delve into all that before I would come up with my thoughts to them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see Dave chomping at the bit.
Well, a little bit of a yes and to Nicole's. A thing that I occasionally hear is, "Oh, we tried that whole Agile thing start to finish, and it did not work." Well, if you think you finished Agile, then you were not doing Agile from the start, because it's not a start to finish kind of thing. One more. This is not a yes and totally different topic of sorts. Is a Kinefin model. The Kinefin model says that, and if I put things in chat, will people be able to see it? Can I share pictures, maybe? Put it in show notes
yes,
or something.
Yep. I'll put it in show notes.
Okay, so there's 4 modes within Kinefin. There's simple, which has very few tasks, but we know the tasks. How do I get to my local grocery store? There's chaos, which has very few tasks, but we don't know the steps. Like, fire broke out, and now we have to just react. There's complicated, which has lots of steps, but the steps are known. How do you launch your rocket? Right? T minus 24, there's a checklist. T minus 23, there's a checklist. T minus 22, there's a checklist. And then there's complex. And complex has what Donald Rumsfeld might call unknown unknowns, right? Known knowns, we know the question, we know the answer. Known unknowns, we know the question, but we don't know the answer. And then unknown unknowns, we don't even know the question. And that's where Agile lives, is in the unknown unknowns, in the complex. But if your project is complicated, you have lots and lots of steps. If you have 50 people in your work area, and you have 50 computers that you've issued, and then you get a 51st person, Agile is probably not the solution for your 51st computer.
Yep. And it's funny. People are, what I hear is like, oh, we're going Agile. We need to transform, or we need this Agile transformation to solve X problem. And the question I usually ask is, okay, well, what is your real problem? Because they'll say, we need to get the market faster, or we need to have better quality. We need to change the way we do things. We need to release more frequently. So I always like to think that, okay, let us observe, let us take a look at your processes, your system, how everything works, um, before we can say or determine if Agile is not going to work here. And when I hear that from people within the org, I think there's a culture problem versus process versus technology. There's a cultural problem where this is how we done things, this is how we always want to do things. Yeah, well, you can't have that attitude all the time, especially in software development or any kind of IT. You have to be open, you have to be available to learn new things, to try new things, to experiment, to process, because otherwise you're going to be stuck in old ways and technology will blow past you.
Yeah, and I want to
So like,
yeah, I just want
go ahead.
to caveat what Omar said and kind of reiterating, if your IT project is something that's been done many times before, then you may not actually need Agile. If you have only known knowns and known unknowns, like you know the questions, you have this, what color do you want your computer to be? That's a known unknown. You don't have to worry about it. Maybe Agile is not what you need, right? But if you keep having things come across that you weren't expecting, then it might be time to recognize that you have complex unknown unknowns.
I also want to yes and Dave, although he didn't know he said it. Um, doing agile versus being agile are two very distinct things in the realm of Omar's transformation as well. So they need to want to be.
Yep. Yep. And I think it was Cotter's 8 steps, where it's like, you have that coalition, you got to have the buy-in, celebrate those short wins. Like, I'm curious if someone's like, well, we didn't do well. Well, yep, leading change and accelerate. Excellent.
So, key
Yes.
thing, right? Because this is like 30 years old, and this is like a decade. And the thing that Cotter himself said is it's not steps, it's a circle,
Yep.
right? And
Continues.
that's the main thing. For all of you who are considering reading Accelerate, I just saved you $12, and the time it would have taken to read it. There's other wonderful things about this book, but the main big thing is that your steps, your Cotter steps, should not be sequential. They're constantly happening. Yeah.
Yep. Because there's always, and the other part about, Agile won't work here. Well, who was the team that came in? Is it, if it's just one person? Like, I've seen sometimes where we have this one person, they're an Agile expert, they're going to transform our whole enterprise. That's not going to work. You need several change agents. You need people already at, I call it the 3 levels, executive, middle management, and people working tactically, the engineers, engineering managers. So you have to have champions at all level. You have to have buy-in, but you have to celebrate those short wins. Yeah, hey, we made a success. And then also celebrate the failures. Hey, we broke something, but we learned something from it. Like, it's like when I talk to some of the kids I coach in jujitsu. It's like they tried something, it didn't work, but hey, guess what? We learned for next time we're going to try it a different way, and then they go and execute. And like, coach, I did it. I tried it differently, and it worked. There you go. It is okay. What's the quote I always say? It is okay to fail, but it is not okay not to learn. And I preach that not only in the workspace, but also to anyone I coach. Like, hey, even my kids. I'm like, it's okay that fell, it broke. Well, what do we learn? Don't put it on the edge of the table. Put your water bottle on the middle of the table. Yep. All right. Thank you both very much for joining us for this panel for our first ever episode of Agile Table Topics. Um, I'm pretty sure I'll have both of you on future episodes. Thank you again. And folks, thank you for joining us for the first episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or just subscribe to whatever podcasting platform you're using. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you at the next show. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Omar.
Thanks, Omar.